All right, I am now joined by a very, very special guest. Long time coming. I feel like we haven't done one of these pods in a long time. It is my good friend Ryan Ripken here to talk some O's, talk some Nationals, all things Maryland sports. Ryan, it's great to see you again. Hey, congrats on the vacation. I know you're down there in Turks and Caicos from the background. It's not too bad.
Oh yeah, it's nice and breezy down here, right? This is my time off, and as you can tell, can't beat this. Can't beat this. but yeah, Justin, it's been way too long. I've We've been talking about it, trying to get it done. It's not because I don't like you, I swear. You're not that bad. But I know we got a lot to catch up on, and I'm glad that we could do this. And yeah, a lot of things happening in the Maryland region and DC. Not for the best for those two teams, but conversations nonetheless.
I figured just like at like the core of who we are, it's DC, Baltimore. Just like there's the mix of those two is fascinating. So we'll start up in O's land with the Orioles. So Adley Rutschman has been a big topic of conversation going back to even like the second half of last year where we kind of scuffled, led into this year a little bit. Ever since the All-Star break this year, though, he's batting 314. He's back. Did you think it was only a matter of time before he broke out of that long slump?
Yeah, just from being a teammate with him, knowing his ability. But here's the thing that was always working against Adley was everyone's expectation of what they viewed him as. And when you look at catchers that change a franchise, Adley did accomplish that when he came up in 2022, right? The team started winning games. And from 2022 up until this year, the Orioles had the most wins in the American League. Now, 25 has been a different story, and even the second half of 24, right, Justin, where he was banged up. He wasn't then playing up to his caliber. And then mentally, you could tell like he just wasn't in the best frame of mind. And where I was going with the expectation part is that people, when you think great catchers that transcend an organization to success to win World Series, everyone goes to that catcher that is now running the San Francisco Giants and Buster Posey, right? So people thought that Adley was going to be like Buster impact wise. And even Buster, even the great years that San Francisco had, they had down years. I think that Adley, the pressure was built there and the contract extension, that could be looming, all factored into it. But the reality is, Adley's a really good player, Justin. He's really good. Buster Posey's Buster Posey. He's one of one. Whatever Adley becomes is to be determined. But what we know is when he's right, he's going to be an all-star in the consideration each and every year. And he's going to be a big part of this Baltimore team moving forward. Just the question really is going to be, though, Justin, how long does Adley catch? That's the one question I'm going to wonder because as he gets older, just gets a little bit harder behind the dish there. But his talent, he's too talented to not get back on track. And I love watching what he's doing.
He just means so much to the organization. Yeah, from a catcher, obviously working with the pitching staff, all the duties and responsibilities that come with that job. Like good teams are built up the middle. I always just see like fans. I feel like the overall fan sentiment is pretty down on him. So I'm glad he's finally like silencing some of the doubters a little bit because I was there's no chance he was going to be a 200 hitter all year long.
No. I mean, here's the thing. Like, we really want to look at his OPS numbers, which I don't think OPS always tells the full story. But I mean, when it's a high number, it does tell you that he's getting on base and he's driving the baseball for extra base hits. Early on in the year, May was brutal. I mean, May was brutal where he hit a buck 82 and had an OPS of 561, right? But then once June rolled around and he did that trip out to Seattle, and he's a Pacific Northwest guy, Justin, so maybe he just needed to go home. And 309 average for June and an 890 OPS, and then unfortunately he gets hurt, and then he misses a month's time. But then since he's been back, batting average still hitting over 300 over the last week or so he's been back, and the OPS still north of 800. That is Adley. That is who he is. And the other thing too, being injured stinks, man. It sucks. I remember just on my case, I had an oblique injury back in 2019 in high A. And I got off to a great start. And I kept thinking about how much I wanted to be out there. And that's on the other side. You're itching. You want to uh, prove that you can continue on for the season. Adley had the other one where he was off to the slow start. The team's struggling, and all he wants to do is get back out there. So he feels, or I'm sorry, he got off to the slow start, played well, and the team was at that turning point, and then he gets hurt. That maybe things could have changed, probably not, but maybe. And he feels that he could have made a difference, and that's the part that sucks for him. But honestly, the silver lining, Justin, it might have been the time off he needed, because you're right. People have been down on him. Like, I guess it's what have you done for me lately? People forgot about the last 2.5 years. And that's the business. People want to see success right now. And for the Orioles, there's not a lot of things to be happy about. And that's winning cures everything. But Adley Rutschman is going to be a part of their solution, Justin. Even though people think he has been part of the problem, which I don't think has been fair at all.
Well, I completely agree. Also, it doesn't help his case when, he's going through that scuffle and you look down the farm in Norfolk and Samuel Basallo is batting well over 300. It seems like every night the Tide social accounts like he hit another home run. So it was tough to see the juxtaposition of like kid raking versus, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts every night for our guy Adley.
Yeah, and for Samuel down there, that dude's a beast. And also, you're pretty damn good when he's what, 20 right now. He's got more home runs than how many years he's been alive. And it just continues to grow. Like, it's insane how talented Sam Basallo is as a hitter. Now, I don't know, Justin, if he's going to be a primary catcher. Like, I kind of think I look over at Houston with Yordan Alvarez, the size, and, first DH, but Sam can catch. So I think in a perfect sense, he's not going to be the everyday guy. And I think that probably went into them saying, hey, you haven't caught enough for us to pull you up there, and we're not going to rush you, which I love, by the way. Like, don't need to rush him. And I think it's going to be a good problem to have, but Adley and Sam can coexist. I think that Sam his time's coming here, Justin. It's coming. By the time you put this out, heck, things could change whenever, well, I think August 15th, specifically.
Is that the date?
I think that's where, the keep rookie eligibility for next year is. So, a week to go then as we're talking right now, super talented player. I think that makes the most sense. And, I just want to see, Justin, if I could just say one thing about the O's with the season, how it's gone. And maybe this gives a little context to people of why things have been the way that they have been. In 23, when they shocked, baseball and had the most wins in the American League. And don't sit here and tell me you thought the Orioles were going to win the most games in the American League. You're lying to yourself. Were they going to be better and compete for a playoff spot after 22? Yeah. But then because that happened, and 24 now you are expected to be a top dog, I think that hurt some of the development of some of their younger guys, and you didn't get to see of what you have. So these next 2 months, Justin, the Orioles have a great opportunity to figure out without any pressure, because they're not going to go to the playoffs, of who is your guys moving forward. And Dylan Beavers is a guy that he was an interesting prospect the last few years, but he's had an unbelievable year where now you're saying, well, we need to give this guy a shot and just see. Because they can't mix and match. Same thing with Kobe Mayo. You can't mix and match anymore. Because guess what? All those pressures that we just talked about with Adley, the Orioles are going to be expected to win next year. And there's going to be no excuses. And if they don't win, Justin, we might be having a different tune in Baltimore. And there might be more moves besides a manager that gets let go.
100%. Yeah, this is the time. Although it is frustrating because like even after the big deadline sell off, where guys like O'Hearn and Laureano and like they cleared up some playing time. Just it is interesting, especially the bullpen guys too, who they've chosen to replace some of those guys. At least right now, especially because like Jeremiah Jackson obviously looked pretty tough in the outfield there. Dylan Carlson's still there. He's fine, but he's been like an everyday guy when he probably shouldn't be. The bullpen I can't name more than just Cano and Aiken. So it is an interesting time. They're kind of piecing it together, but I think they should go prospect heavier if that makes sense.
I think it really is such a great opportunity for who's there. Now, again, for fans, it's been a huge disappointment for so many reasons. But the Orioles need to have a full plan going into 26, like going into the off season, I should say. And I would really want to know, do you have a surprising piece that you didn't think would be a part of your bullpen that has shown promise? Is there starters that you built confidence in? I mean, in this case, look how valuable Trevor Rogers pitching the last month has been, where now you have a really good idea. And hopefully, if he finishes this season out the rest of the way, you got a really good indication of what he can be for you moving forward. The same can be said for the reps for Jackson Holiday at second base as he gets better. Gunnar Henderson continues to get better defensively. We already know what Gunnar is. But for all the players you can go around for prospects, Kobe Mayo probably is the one that really needs the runway because he probably was ready last year for the bat, but they didn't need him because of positional, value. It's a really good chance. But Justin, the thing that they have to do is they really have to identify and then be aggressive in the offseason because say only one bullpen piece, fills out. And the bullpen is for me is one of the easier parts to kind of piece together because someone that you've never heard of can be a star, just be a rock star for a year. They're going to need to have a concrete plan. And if they don't, well, goodness, Justin, we might have another conversation on here about what the heck's going on.
I take that back. There's another member of the bullpen who was on here a couple weeks ago. It's Dietrich Enns. It's my guy. So
Dietrich, dude, he absolutely shoved it against the 2021 Tides. I'll tell you that right now. He was on the Durham Bulls, and that dude was a Tides killer when I faced him. I want to look it up now because it was just. I'm happy for him, man. He's looked great so far as a Bird, which is great. I didn't appreciate what he did to us though. Then, yeah, now I got to look it up because it wasn't nice. It wasn't nice.
He's too good. Yeah, lefty. Just he's multi-inning guy too, which I like. Give you 2 or 3 out of the pen whenever. I feel like that's a very underappreciated lefty long man. Is doesn't get a whole bunch of shine.
And the Orioles didn't have a long man with Albert Suarez being out. That stuff matters. And he's been around. Like talk about a journeyman. He's 34. Yep. Here it was. Here we go. Durham. Yeah. 2.76 ERA. Justin. 71 innings, 90 punch outs. Thanks for that, Dietrich. I remember it vividly. Everybody on the Durham Bulls were putting it to us that year, but they were also disgustingly good. Like they were so infuriating. Their guys would pitch better in the big leagues than in AAA. That tells you something. And they still were that good in AAA. Oh man.
Have you been back to Durham since you played down there? It is a very nice ballpark.
I haven't. I want to. I really enjoyed going to Durham. I love just because when you also think of the baseball movies, Durham Bulls and all of that too, or Bull Durham, sorry, but Durham Bulls. I always loved that. And that was actually the place where I saw Kyle Stowers hit the furthest home run opposite field I've probably ever seen. Was at Durham. So a lot of good moments down there. I love the Carolinas. It was fun. But yeah, Dietrich again, do that to other teams now, man. Like, I got too much PTSD from watching him just completely just ring us up left and right.
That's the best. I want to switch gears briefly and talk about the other team in the area, the Washington Nationals. It's been tough, especially us, living around here, me trying to go to a couple of these games. It's like it hasn't been great. But if you're a Nats fan, what are the vibes like? What do you think? What are you supposed to be feeling right now? Like, should you channel this anger towards somebody? Like, this is the worst pitching team I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it felt like that was going to be the big thing for them that could stop them from kind of taking that next step. And I think I'm not going to say for Nationals fan that you're disheartened completely, but it kind of feels that way, because you have young talent. And we talked about this before coming on. I saw a quote or out there of saying, the Nationals acquired all this young talent just to now get ready for another rebuild. Like they had the young talent to help you get out of the rebuild. And now with that young talent, you're feels like you're going back into one. Because I think the Nats are a lot closer than their record indicates, Justin. Like I do. James Wood to me is going to be a top 5 hitter in the next couple of years. Like I firmly believe that. I know Gore hasn't pitched well. I'm still huge on Mackenzie Gore, on his upside, his intangibles. You can go around the list. CJ Abrams, talented player. I know Dylan Crew's been hurt, but they have things there. And I think that's the part of your Nats fan. You sit there and go, there are literal building blocks. But damn, yeah, they're not pitching well enough. And damn, you're not winning games. And, you can tell that there's tension with the ownership because they also haven't spent a lot over the last couple of years. So, for an organization that just won 6 years ago, Justin, they don't feel like that high and mighty organization right now. And I spent time there, and I think that they are a great organization. But I know for fans, you're just kind of wondering how are we going to compete in the National League East uh, with where they are right now. I think that's just where you kind of look at it.
It's the first team since 1932 to give up 80 hits in a 4-game stretch. I didn't even know that. Just it's every night it's double dig on the other side. And so like I'm sure the young hitters, because their lineup isn't that old. So like I'm sure the young hitters, when they see that like their starters go out, first couple innings, give up an 8 spot, they're like, crap, we have to all get on base and start driving in runs. And they're pressing a little bit. It is crazy to think that if they never traded Soto to the Padres for those guys, that the lack of talent would be even worse somehow. Like I don't like your building blocks, like you just mentioned, are Gore, Wood, and Abrams. Those are the guys. Like it hurts my heart.
Yeah, I mean it does for me too. And you're right. I mean, like just pitching wise, they got a ERA north of 5. They're a 5.38 as a team. You know, that's not going to win you a lot of games. What's crazy to me, um, overall, I'm sorry, I had it wrong. They're the second worst in baseball. Baltimore's fourth worst. The Rockies are the only team that have an ERA at 6. But then there's the Nats, and you're looking at that for everything that we just said. Pitching, despite the 3 levels of the game, pitching, defense, hitting, all are valuable. And I can make the argument that if you are fundamental enough, you can stay in games, but it's to an extent. You have to be able to go out there and give your team a chance. Like earlier in Baltimore, or teams that we've watched that gone on bad losing streaks, it's been because they've fallen behind quite a bit, and they're trying to play catch up. And for the Nats, they've done that more so than not. And then guess what happens? Then you have tension in a locker room. Then guess what happens? Then you start losing. Then people aren't in good frames of mind. Here's like a great example here, Justin. Toronto Blue Jays lead the American League East, right? But they're 21st in baseball in team ERA, which, could be better, could be worse, but they're hitting the number 1 in average, and they scratch and claw and find ways. And for the Nationals, what was happening? They weren't scratching and clawing to win those games as the season went on. Earlier on, it looked like it might be that way. So you lose those close games that you're grinding. You're falling behind, and then you feel the pressure of losing, and that really brings down the whole attitude. I think I'll be really curious, Justin, what they do with the next manager. and what culture that they want to set. Because I think that's going to be extremely important for what this next era is going to be now without Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo. You know, whatever GM comes in, like I think it's a cool opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity, but man, hard to win. Hard to win when you're giving up the goods night after night.
Yeah. It's like there's been organizations that have shown that like you don't have to spend a ton of money in free agency, and like the learners, they have shown that they don't want to invest anything. That's bad, but like I still, if I had to place my 1-1 draft pick of why they're this bad, it's just like a decades long of drafting poorly. Like they've missed on so many important high round picks. They hit on the one that they hit when they drafted you though, so that was
Well, and maybe a high character guy, they might have hit on that. I'll toot my own horn there. I don't think I'm a terrible guy. Um, I definitely had some injuries, but the Nats, even when I was in the system there, they at that time they had a reputation of developing guys well and bringing them up and having success. And people go elsewhere and have more success, but I still remember, they traded away Ronaldo Lopez and Giolito, and but you know what? It got them a World Series. Like they won. Adam Eden came over in that deal. You had Bryce Harper on your team. You had a stretch run where the Nats were the team in the National League. They just couldn't win in the playoffs. Juan Soto, another one. But here it is now where all those faces are elsewhere. And the Nats are kind of searching for that identity, we'll see. But I gotta say, James Wood, dude, that dude is, yeah,
the real
he
deal.
is that dude.
The thing I wanted to end on was, and I made a video about this, and this is a topic that I'm very passionate about. It's just, I don't know if like standing up for some of these teams is the right way to phrase it, but just like some of the smaller market franchises around the game that don't get as much shine, they've been taking a beating when it comes to like national media attention. It's really came to a head with Ellie De La Cruz and the Speedway Classic thing where, the Reds and the Braves were playing and people were like, wow, this is the first time I've ever heard of this guy, Ellie De La Cruz. Like, I wonder why. And David Ortiz had the quote where he's like, he should be a Yankee or a Dodger. He'd be on TV every night. Why do you think it is baseball only wants to promote like either legacy teams or just like the biggest markets when some of the best talent arguably is in, Bobby Witt Jr., Ramirez, those type of guys?
Yeah, money definitely talks for the big markets. That's why even I feel so bad for like a guy like Anthony Volpe in New York because everything is magnified tremendously. But a lot of people love the Yankees, and a lot of people hate the Yankees. So it's the double side. But baseball would be so smart, Justin, to find more ways to promote their best players. That's the one thing over the years that hasn't happened enough. And part of it has to be the players have to be willing to do that. Like Mike Trout was the quiet superstar for so many years. He didn't really care about showcasing, himself. He wanted to go and play the game. But you mentioned a guy like Ellie De La Cruz, and you're talking about growing the game of baseball, and you're talking about being electrifying. Why not find ways to promote those great players? And the thing is, you don't even have to have them be so involved. In today's day and age, Justin, with all social media and how many content creators are out there, and also with MLB and their reach, you should just try to highlight the extremely gifted players. Because here's one thing we can argue about. You could say the game played the way that it should be over the years or how it's changed. And you got the old school, new school. That's irrelevant to me. One thing that everyone can agree on, that these athletes nowadays, a lot of them, we're seeing unicorns. Shohei Ohtani, unicorn. Ellie De La Cruz is one of those guys. And I think it would be great, Justin. I don't know what other, don't you want to see the best players? I mean, for you, right? Don't
Yeah.
you want to see the best of the best overall?
Well, I made the example of like Sunday Night Baseball, and they showed like the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox dominated the games played since 2016. The Reds have never been on Sunday Night Baseball, and I was watching. I don't know if you ever watched Nothing Personal with David Sampson, the ex Marlins team president. He had a quote where he's like I used to go to ESPN all the time. He's like I got superstars on Miami, and the ESPN people would say, but nobody cares. You're the Marlins. We want to put the Yankees on because people like them. So it's like I guess the only solution would be if MLB took over the broadcasting rights for all 30 teams and made it so it was a national thing. So like, but it's such a regional sport also that this just might be a no-win situation where I don't think you really can do much more other than the social stuff.
Yeah, I mean the market's always going to show you what people want, and if the market's dominated by the top teams, then yeah, you're going to have to continue to show them because that's telling you the business. People want to watch them. But there are ways to showcase your players. There are better ways to do that. And I know Major League Baseball is really trying to find ways to just showcase everything that they have and can entail. You know, I'm more of a baseball enthusiast, right? Because just playing and being around it. So I love seeing the parody. I love seeing the Cleveland Guardians go out and play scrappy and do the little things and watch Stephen Kwan go out there and battle his ass off. And then Jose Ramirez just is that quiet superstar that no one talks about enough. People in baseball know, but worldwide they don't. I love that, and I think the thing is there's a lot of people that love that. But how can you show the people that don't know that these are guys that you should follow?
Yep.
I think that's it at the end of the day. I don't know if we're going to find that answer, Justin, but you can make an argument that the majority of the top players are elsewhere outside the markets. Look in Baltimore, Gunnar Henderson, he's a star. Bobby Witt Jr., you mentioned, Elly De La Cruz. Now Kyle Stowers is emerging down in Miami as one. Detroit, it's gotten more run. Skubal, though, you could argue he's the top pitcher in baseball. Paul Skeens is getting all the attention. And so, I guess that's the point. It's possible. Paul Skeens has become a face of the game. Pittsburgh ain't that good.
It's a small market. Yeah.
So
I just think we have to keep talking about it. Yeah. I guess they can make the playoffs. That would help too. But like in a wild card, you could be out in like 3 days. So like, it's not the best way, but we're just going to keep talking about it, keep bringing awareness to this issue because yeah, there's so many great fans, like the fans of Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, like they're some of the best people on earth and they deserve to have a little bit more shine and actually get a single Sunday Night Baseball game for once.
Hey, I would be the one to tune in. I will tell you that right now. You put a different team on there, you put some studs. Hey, you put the Brewers and the Blue Jays, 2 best teams in baseball right now. Like if they were to play, I don't know where they were in the schedule, but I would tune into that. I would tune into the Reds. I think you got to find a way to sprinkle it in. Have to.
It's more to baseball than just like New York, LA. So, yeah, man, this has been great. I'm so glad we had an opportunity to catch up and do this again. And like I said, it's been too long. But I always appreciate talking ball. No one knows DC Baltimore better than you do. So, Ryan Ripken show for everybody out there. I'm sure everybody knows by now, but the work you guys do is incredible. So everybody check them out. And thanks for being here.
No, of course, man. And we got to do it. We got to do this sooner next time. We'll get back on the horn. And then, hey, I'll bring you down to what we said this was Turks and Caicos.
Yeah, Turks and Caicos. Yeah, there's a guy with a little umbrella drink coming here soon.
Yeah, it's coming soon. We'll do a joint one from here next time.